Okay, somebody came in. Just waiting to see if a few more people are going to come into my live or not. And it's been a long time since I've gone live, but I do have new content to put up and shortly. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Hey, I'm going to be talking about the Solomon Seal Oracle today. May or may not pull cards, just so people can get an introduction to the cards, and you can ask questions about this deck that was developed by Dr. Lucifer, but also with his family and his cultural history, being a Jamaican diasporic person. Me myself, I'm in other Curanderismo, Seance, Caribbean traditions. I'm in other ones. So I do have a foundation in Caribbean spirituality, but this is a system, something new that I'm learning, but it definitely touches back on things that I've read about or I practiced or I knew about like 15, 20 years ago, because I did the Caribbean thing for a while. So this is to Caribbean understanding, grimoires, and sorcery. Through the Caribbean is more approached through necromancy, actually, in general. But there's other ways about it too. So it's not practiced the same, but it goes back to really old sources. So we think about mixing and the mixing that was done in the Caribbean, but there was mixing done in Africa even before that with Templars and French, West African, West African, Islamic, Knights Templar, even with our Boveda with the cup and the crucifix in it, used to be seen on coffins in Spain. And so there's old mysteries that go back even farther from Caribbean. Well, you can wish it's a gumbo, but it becomes a delicious gumbo if people know how to cook, right? It becomes trash if people just take stuff from the fridge and they don't know what they're making, right? So not every gumbo will be alike, but you better have the okra or the filet in there, right? That makes it a true gumbo. But whether or not you put sausage or whether or not you put, shrimp in yours. So I'll give an introduction to the cards, and you'll see that it has a system behind it. This is not something that's made up. So it's not just something that is thrown together. And people don't really know what they're talking about, or they don't know what they are looking at. So they can say it's maybe a gumbo, but maybe they don't know what they are looking at. Okay. So the Solomon Seal Oracle, the cloth is actually fairly big, and there's a folkloric thing about the cloth, about Delaurance cloths and magical cloths being used. It's not just a surface, a playing surface for cards to go on. It's also a spellcasting surface. And its informed decisions went in. This was already developed way back, in the 1800s and beyond, but there was definitely informed decisions that went into this, such as the 777 is a celestial number. 7 is a number of, say, like planetary higher angelic forces, you can say, but also 21, all the paths, and the messenger of the spirits, circles of evocation and all that. There are different cloths that will be made for Islamic and more jinn squares and geomantic dots on it. So this cloth isn't absolutely necessary, but it does receive charge. It is good to use it. You can do your own markings on a floor surface, and not just chalk is used, so other things are used, and there is magical theory that can be taught. So I already had a good magical foundation to understand certain things, but there's magical theory that can be taught behind using the cards, because the cards is not just a divination system. It's not just an oracle. It's actually used to cast spells. So you can say, okay, normal tarot deck, you can use that also to cast spells, but this is different. So there's geomantic dots on here, which is based on very old divination, like sand casting. or there's a drawing of dot system that you can do for randomly, and it's all comes off of manifestation of a point of light, basically, and lightness and dark. And these patterns, yes, there's OB, but this is not based on OB. However, if you do know OB about throwing 4 things, this will be helpful to you, but it's not the same system. It's geomantic. And there's different psalms, different Quran verses that could be different intelligences, from angels to demons to jinn to all different types of spirits can come through this sort of system of evocation that promotes sort of a remote viewing capacity in someone, basically. So this is not just like tarot and stuff like this. This is an actual system to create that. So I'll show you the back of the cards. Say the Solomon Seal Oracle. So it's just the deck. And then there's 5 different cards for each day of the week. So it has the 4 geomantic and then the 5th. The 5 geomantic system, 7 days a week, so there's 35 cards. And so there's different ones. We'll go through them. You can see there's different ones, different days of the week with the different ones on it. You can start reading this in a very simple way, but there's also very complicated. There's very complex tables and things and memorization that can go into it. But you can also just start right away with some simple instruction. Also begin to start using this deck. And so there's going to be classes. You can also buy this deck. I'll put a link where you can also purchase this deck. It does matter which way. Also, that's also more complicated. But which way so if which way you draw the cards. So this versus this. Okay, that's also more complicated when you get into reading. It. So there's certain prayers done to open the session that we can educate people on. And yeah, I found it very interesting. Deck so far to use and work with. I'm doing introductory readings for $77. And after that, my prices are going to be $150 for this oracle, and it's a system of spellcasting as well, because a consultation is kind of like built into it, and then like it's just very simple, basic system that can cut to the quick, basically. So it's all built in. So more than one card might be drawn. Just depends on the first card that's being drawn, and sometimes up to the diviner as well. The introductory readings as well. Who you are matters in this whole system. So you have your own energy, and so we can look at your energies, how you operate within the system as well. That could also be a good beginning reading for somebody to get, because that's going to matter later when you see the energies play out, what your energy is. If you see it come up, if you see various things sort of add up, or say you're reading about somebody else and you know about their energy, that will matter in the whole reading as well. So I don't know if anybody wants a quick demonstration or not. There's a coupon code on the Printers Publishing website, but they are, I think, 124 Canadian for, this is the lower grade cardstock. The higher grade pro version comes with a tin. But that's just what we're sort of working with right now. And on Facebook, there is a group called Black Magic, something tarot spells. If you go to my Facebook, I posted it because I did a live briefly to introduce the cards, and I will put links after the live to the Facebook group and where you can buy the cards. And so far, just myself and Dr. Lucifer is offering these readings and classes so far. So I don't know if anybody is wanting a demonstration or not. Don't be shy. So since nobody is stepping up, I'm going to just generally ask. I'm going to ask about Valentine's Day, because the energy is very weird for that day. It's Ash Wednesday, and there's like weird Pluto squares I also posted about on my Facebook page. So it's a good day to get rid of bad or negative connections. I think there'll probably be a lot of arguments that day. Also, my Pluto's in Libra, so of a certain generation as well. So, any advice for Valentine's Day coming up? Will Valentine's Day be a good day for most people? Yes or no? That's how I'm going to start. Given the planetary energies, spirits of the planetary days, the week of these cards. Any questions about the cards? Anything you don't understand? Okay. So very basically, I'm going to be drawing another card. It looks like there's a lot of restrictions on that day on money. I think is an issue for a lot of people and what you're going to spend. It's very interesting. Yeah, I think most people aren't going to get the progression that they really want in their relationship. So that's basically not very good, and it shows like a lot of obstacles in whatever people's relationships. Definitely, I would say some magic needs to be done. Cleansings. People need to do some cleansings and be up on their spiritually, especially if they're spiritualists, be up on their white baths and stuff like that with the Sunday energy, with a little bit of black moving in on there. And they're just unforeseen things and possibly people moving against this relationship. Time's also a factor, because I see the weekend, and the first card was Saturday. Again with that, so I don't know if it's expectations and stuff like that people are having issues with. I think a lot of people are maybe focusing on the wrong person as well. Which is nothing new. Lots of distractions. Yeah. So, I mean, the energies of astrology line up with that. It's also good to know the astrological timing of certain things, astrological timing of the day, the year, like where you're at right now. When you go to use these cards as well with spellcasting. there's certain alignments within reason, within a short amount of time, because we're not going to wait 3 months to do spiritual work on something. So we can align within, you know, a day or so, or it might even be a week or a particular day, where we can do something that's going to align and be a lot more effective using the energies surrounding So yeah, a lot of clearing of energies, a lot of cut and clearing. I already mentioned a lot of resolving of old energies. I would get resolve. A lot of old energies hanging around for people, probably also creating a lot of disturbances, because Pluto, Hades is sort of like the subconscious and like dark things, hidden things, and that's doing the square on the day as well, with a little bit of black. Unforeseen things will be happening that you couldn't have planned for, those problems. But now that you have the energies of the week, you would know the remedy basically based on these cards. So, which would be, you would look towards alleviating the Saturday energy, with the Sunday energy, with a lot more with the expansion, and then you would be looking in there with the spirits that are associated with that energy for either to be proactive or detrimental in the situation. So you can make the situation worse, or you can make the situation better, depending on what type of entities that you want to use that are associated with the day of these energies. And then I'm not going to be giving out free teachings, but obviously there's days of the week, there's timings, obviously, when you're using these cards that are going to point you towards what you're going to do. So this is an introduction. I hope you guys enjoyed just looking at some of the cards. Okay, and instruction, you definitely need instruction with using these cards, because there's some negativity that can really be pulled through with these cards, and you don't want to be like pulling that in towards your life and stuff like that. So there's certain things that are done or not done when you're with these energies, with these cards as well. And so yeah, they're astrologically based. It's based in geomancy as well, which does follow like Islamic or Ifa, how they do their signs, depending on how many cards you pull. But we're not following Ifa at all. It's just they figured out their own stories, their own cultural stories, and their own workings to go along with their system. But there's other cultures who use geomancy with their own intelligences, basically. And so obviously blacks, that's obviously darkness, right? Obviously it's darkness. You know, and if you drew that on Tuesday on Mars energy, that's very dark, very hot, volatile energy. If you drew something like this, versus, you know, this would be more of obviously more blessings, light, expansion. You have your balance of energies. And then you have a negativity of the light not being able to overcome the darkness, and then also then balance again of darkness with the light. That's tipping balances. So there's different things that you're looking at when you're looking at these cards, because it is a system. There's definitely a system, but then there's also room for the remote viewer. Yeah. Frankincense is a good idea, or you want to use something like copal or something that really freshens the area. Or purification. It's a good idea. You don't want to be using these cards or doing certain things with different intelligences because it will really affect your mind. So there is preparation for using the cards and for spell casting with the cards. And so I'll put a link to buy the cards and to come into the Facebook group. It's easy to get lost because there's lots of information, and it just depends on the way that you're going to approach it and who you are, what your spirituality is about as well. So not everything may apply or whatever be relevant. It's hard to know what you're looking at until you actually know what's going on with it. But these are the cards. And there's going to be other classes offered soon. Locally, I'm doing a lot more, but then when I get all my menus together, I'm going to offer that to everybody else, whether you want like an egg cleaning class or something like that. I could probably teach that in about 45 minutes to an hour. Because I see a lot of people doing them, in my opinion, not the greatest way or incorrect way. And just see what else I can get up to. I'm free most weekends. If anybody wants lessons, if anybody wants spell coaching, if anybody needs readings, if anybody has basic questions, you can hit me up. But yeah, it's about $50 for about 30 minutes of lessons. But in that time as well, if we're practicing, I could practice reading with someone if someone's practicing readings. If you want to practice your reading with me or whatnot. So everybody knows the days of the weeks. Everybody's pretty familiar with the 7 planetary energies, although some people get a little locked into the Orishas don't really follow the days of the week. And if you know anything about Kabbalah, if you know anything about planetary hermetic energies or Kabbalah, that's going to help you a little bit because you understand, at least you understand the classical version, so you're going to understand the other things. So I don't know. It just depends on how much somebody knows, where we can start you at, I guess. So I'm coming back to things I haven't touched for over 15 to 20 years. So it's kind of interesting for me. Yeah, but it's all good reference points because you can read things and it's all good reference points, but you're not going to understand how to use it until someone points out the connections and shows you a few things. So self-study is good, but really, honestly, if you want something workable, a workable oracle, yes, there's teachings, and there may or may not be initiations, but somebody who's like a proficient magician could use these cards, could be taught to use these cards. So that's what I like about it, is that for most traditions, you have to be fairly highly initiated to get into receiving the oracle, even if you do have shrines, receiving the oracle and then training on it. There's tons of priests out there. That doesn't mean that they can do anything, and that's why they just do Wicca or offer hoodoo and other things, and are not doing their proper tradition. So this is an oracle that's like beyond tarot. That's what I like about it. That is a system that people can use. So I say that as I'm getting a little bit away from ATRs because it's not for everybody, even though I have that knowledge and I've never branded myself as anything different in over 13 years. But for locally, I'm going to have a more professional site coming up, and contacts as well. So no questions about the oracle. All right. Yeah, so I say that as a yaya being scratched in Palo Mayombe, and I can go get a Lucero or do those things. Just because somebody's in, Crown Orisha doesn't mean that they have even, that they know how to use their shells after 4 or 5 years. A lot of them don't. So, and anything can be read too. Like, you can throw something in the air, see how it lands. Once you know everything, it's all connected. Like, you can look at almost anything and you can read it, to be honest. Once you know what you're looking at. Playing cards, that's usually what's used in hoodoo or used in voodoo. Just a plain deck of playing cards. And I think the Rider-Waite is the most accurate when it comes to Kabbalah, when it comes to the colors. It's created in the Queen scale of Bria, which that's mostly what the colors that you know when you think of planets and stuff like that come from. But there's 4 different scales. Because that's considered the magical realm of thought, basically. The angelic realm as well. There's numerology on there. There's Hebrew letters that are associated. There's Psalms that are associated. There's planetary energies that are associated. So numerology as well. And people get all up to some kind of crazy things. And then if you're one of those people that are like, oh, well, Neptune Neptune's like 12 or 8 or 6 or 2 to me, and the sun is like 7 to me, then you can't be taught. Like there's a specific, numerical value to things. There's specific colors to things. There's specific correspondence to things that are used, and other grimoires are actually used alongside the deck. So Crowley's 777 Book of Correspondences, the correspondences used in there. There's other books that are used. There's other grimoires that are used, that can be used. Because it's a whole magical system which can be attached to this deck, or it can be kind of separate as well. So, and we know that there are planetary intelligences, not only of each Sephiroth in Kabbalah, but when you look at grimoires, when you look at the Lesser and the Greater Key of Solomon, and there are planetary hours of the day. There's planetary days of the week. Okay. So it is actually mathematical. It's a mathematical system. It's based on pi, which is based on the golden ratio, which is a spiral, which is energy, how it has manifested into a physical reality, basically, how that energy has manifested. Okay, so it will help to know things about pentagrams, hexagrams, plutonic solids from philosophers. So an icosahedron is water, for example, and it's different sided, objects. A triangle, dodecahedron is a 10-sided kind of cube. Those different sided, like game dice and stuff like that. They're all related to elements. They're all different numbers inside of things. So this is all based on a system of reality, of correspondences. This is all based on actual science, which that's what they call obeya. They call it science. Call it science. And they're called doctors, root doctors, scientists. There's a science behind it. So other people that don't know what they're looking at might just think it's random, but it's not. You know, if you know the Monday is the moon, and you know it has to do with dreams, possibly illusions, secrets, the dead, maybe ocean type energies to do with Monday. You know, Tuesday's warriors, fiery energy, legal things, possibly accidents. Okay, so we already know the days of the week. So other people don't want to say it's gumbo, like based on what? Based on something. It's based on actual recipe of actual science. So I'm sorry that people don't understand that. And so they want to say random things. So you see, you also have 7 days of the week being higher energies, the celestial energies. You see that also within African traditions with the 7 African powers, and Sasi, Siete Reos, you know, 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, and a lot of different cultures had this numerology sort of baked in. We already talked about 3, and now we talked about 7 with Alegua or Legba, 3 and the 21. 3 times 7 is 21. It's all the different paths to spirit. And so we're pinpointing. We're mapping out on that cosmic tree. Right? And again, 3 is the number of pi, right? 3 point something, 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 which is almost a 4, but not quite. It's an unstable number, which seeks completion, seeks manifestation, seeks stability. It's that spark, that first spark. That's when you look at Eshu or Exu or Eshu. Okay, but these are higher concepts for people. It's not for children. It's not for people who are beginning. It's for people that want to learn. And there are certain loa in voodoo as well that do like sorcery or are associated with sorcery, associated with jab, associated with necromancy, therefore associated, like I said, through Caribbean necromancy, to sorcery, like Candelo, like the Simbi. But this is not ATR, but the concepts go back to like Africa and the Middle East. The concepts go back. You know, Wednesday is another crossroads day. It's also Hermetic. Monday opens the week. Thursday is generally seen as positive, like money, expansion, blessings, but too much of something getting really, really big could be bad as well. So there's a positive and a negative to each energy, even though certain energies are seen as more positive, such as like the sun, Jupiter. Saturn is not negative. So if someone's doing hard work, it could mean like the building blocks of creating something lasting, and foundation for something. It just depends on how you're drawing it. So Friday was an illumination for me because I knew about some things before, and it's a real gate opening type of energy because the number of Venus is 7 again. So that kind of opens up. 7 kind of opens up to the other energies individually, basically. So kind of like how in Sansei, how we have a chief, Loa, that rules like the other 7 Hefe pantheon. You can see how it's kind of related. It's not the same thing at all, but there's intelligences basically for every day of the week that can be associated. And then there's going to be one in the system that can rule the other ones. Time itself used to be based on a lunar calendar, so it used to be based on the cycles of 13. And so there is a lunar component also to these cards. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So therefore, there's astrological calculations that can be done with these cards. It's beyond just like what people think, just like demons and cards. So it is actually high science, even though there's a low magic component to it as well, because it's sorcery through the Caribbean. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do keep a dedicated deck of just playing cards to Legba over there on my altar. But also, this is a sorceress. This is a sorceress deck. So people that like that type of energy can enjoy that. It really does help to keep yourself clean and have a really good practice, though. And depending on your frame, where you're meant to start out, kind of, you might need to do a lot more like reinforcement and work before you can start doing these type of things. But eventually, people can get there, I think. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed my video, and we'll be putting up some more content soon. I have a old video on my phone I need to edit about a memory game and some other things. So keep your questions coming in. As people sort of send me questions, I will do new videos.